John Allen, VP Harris met with Vladimir Zelensky today. Donald Trump says he's going to meet with him tomorrow. Donald Trump hasn't even said if he wants Ukraine to win. How's this meeting going to go down?
It's a great question, Stephanie. I think Zelensky is going to be begging Trump that if Trump becomes president again, that Trump continues to support the Ukrainian effort to repel Russia. But it doesn't look like Trump has that in mind at all. He talks about wanting a quick peace, as Vice President Harris pointed out today. That strategy is largely contingent upon handing over to Russia much of Ukrainian territory. So, look, you could not have a bigger distance between two candidates meeting with the same person back to back. You've got Vice President Harris, who wants to continue what the United States has been doing under President Biden, continue to help Ukraine fend off Russia. And then you've got President Trump, who never exactly says he wants Russia to win, but to your point, doesn't say that he wants Ukraine to win, and who has a vice presidential running mate, J.D. Vance, who has consistently questioned the value of the United States continuing to back Ukraine. So there's a real contrast here. I'm not sure how many voters are going to make their decision based on it, but certainly a contrast of values, a contrast in worldview. Donald Trump has said that Europe should be kicking in more money because they're physically closer to Russia than the United States, which has an ocean away from it. The United States foreign policy for basically since World War II has been to bolster Europe so that other countries in Europe aren't a threat to the rest of Europe and to the United States. So huge contrast between these two candidates.
All right, before we go to break, I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that with 40 days out from the election, what else candidate Trump is focused on? Well, today, Melania Trump, who we have barely seen on the campaign trail, made an appearance on Fox News because she's selling a new book. But when she was asked about Kamala Harris and the state of the country, here's what she said.
Well, how I see it is the records speaks for itself. The country is suffering. People are not able to buy usual necessities for their families.
Not 4 hours after talking about that Americans can barely afford necessities, her husband, candidate Donald Trump, announced his new line of watches, some of them that cost $100 grand. On Monday, he launched a silver commemorative coin for $100 that has a teeny bit of silver in it. And those are just the latest in his line of merchandise over the last few months. Bibles, NFT trading cards, coffee table books, Trump sneakers, his publicly traded media company, and his newly formed crypto exchange. Meanwhile, we also learned from an SEC filing that 99% of his son-in-law Jared Kushner's investment fund is financed by foreign entities. He's running, it's like the Trump campaign is the home shopping network. 40 days to go, and this is what we're seeing Donald Trump doing.
Absolutely, because he knows that he's got to have some money in his pocket if he doesn't win, right? He's got to put something in there. I mean, goes back to his roots. Donald Trump, he says he's a real estate magnate, but really in most of his career, he's been a brand. He loves to not invest money in building buildings because that's risky, but to have people pay him to use his name on things. And that's what we're seeing here in the middle of the campaign season, is hhim taking advantage of being in the spotlight the same way he always has and trying to turn that attention into money. And whether that is to the detriment of his political campaign, we'll see. It's very clear from all of the little labelings at the bottom of all of this merchandise. None of it's going to the campaign. It's just going straight to his pocket. They're making that very clear.
John, what is his campaign? Do they ever acknowledge any of this? I'm just thinking, imagine if VP Harris was doing anything else, how that would be taken. How does his campaign respond to any questions about the QVC/Trump campain? No,
just 40 days left to buy at this price, Stephanie. Just 40 days left.
When crazy Eddie runs for president.
His campaign responds to him. This is not a campaign that that comes up with what he's supposed to say and he says it. It's very much the opposite. So whatever he says goes, and then they, kind of try to support that as much as they can. Sometimes they They answer questions about the merchandising and the business stuff. But for the most part, his campaign is focused on the blocking and tackling of an election. For the most part, Donald Trump is very easily distractible by, small silver shiny objects or shiny objects with small amounts of silver in them.
That cost $100.
I guess the question is, the question for voters is whether he, with these watches, is whether he knows what time it is.